Welcome to this MacroView webinar about customizing MacroView DMF. Managing documents and emails is a high-volume activity involving large numbers of users, so it's not surprising that organizations are always looking for ways to make their document and email management more efficient and to have it function exactly in line with their requirements. MacroView DMF out of the box provides great functionality and user experience, but we receive a lot of requests to extend that functionality and experience in specific ways. That's why over the last few years we've invested heavily in making MacroView DMF readily customizable. In other words, able to be extended to meet requirements of a customer organization while still allowing that organization to run standard MacroView DMF and to take full advantage of new releases as they become available.
In this webinar, we will explore the wide variety of ways that MacroView DMF can be customized. Some of these you can do yourself. Many of them require some assistance from MacroView Professional Services. All of the examples that we see here will be drawn from actual customer implementations and are all also relevant to MacroView Message.
Anyone interested in customizing MacroView DMF should take a look at this page on the macroview365.com website. By clicking the Read Blog Post button, you will see a transcript of this webinar.
Anyone who has used MacroView DMF is probably aware of the Options dialog, which allows a user to adjust configuration settings on a number of tabs. These tabs include General, Servers, Office, Appearance, and Support. However, the settings displayed on this dialog are just a subset of the available configuration settings, the ones that are appropriate for adjustment by an end user. The full range of over 180 configuration settings is stored in the user registry. Using these settings, an administrator or a power user can custom configure things like hiding certain commands, for example, the compliance option on the right-click menu, controlling what metadata is reused or displayed when a document is copied or moved, automatically adjusting attachment file names so that they can include unique document IDs and version numbers, or alternatively specifying a color scheme for highlighting files that are checked out, on hold, or declared as a record. MacroView DMF is designed to facilitate deployment, so all these registry settings are compatible with group policy. For example, by using group policy, you can roll out server registrations so that users do not need to make any definitions in MacroView DMF when they first start using it. You can find an ADM template and documentation for the intended use of all the settings on a secure download page for MacroView DMF.
The next style of customization we'll talk about is push favorites. If you're a DMF user, you can easily add SharePoint sites, libraries, document sets, or folders as favorites so that they appear in your favorites mode and streamline navigation to the areas of SharePoint that you use frequently. You can also add searches as favorites. But the push favorites mechanism of DMF can create favorites automatically for users. Push favorites are also known as subscriptions. Let's say you're using SharePoint to store documents related to projects or cases, and in some other system, for example, a practice management system or a CRM, you are storing details of users who are assigned to each project or case. A push favorites customization can retrieve these details from the line of business system and use them to create new favorite sites, favorite libraries, and favorite document sets for a user. And these correspond to the projects or cases to which that user is assigned. On the screen we are seeing the architecture of the push favorites mechanism, and it shows that you can have the push favorites DLL running at the client PC, invoke a web service, and in turn retrieve from SharePoint lists. And a second configuration that is popular is one that has that same push favorites DLL at the client, invoking a custom web service and in turn retrieving from a SQL database. These two prototype solutions are available for purchase, and if you talk to MacroView Professional Services, they can assist you with, for example, creating your own custom web service in conjunction with that mechanism.
Out of the box, MacroView DMF provides excellent support for searching for documents in a SharePoint document store. MacroView DMF ships with two search masks, the keyword search and the email search. These search masks let you find documents and emails based on their content and or metadata, while you work in familiar applications like Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, or indeed MacroView DMF Explorer. You can also add your own search masks to MacroView DMF. For example, a search panel to reflect the way your organization or individual business units within your organization use metadata, including custom metadata columns that you have defined in your SharePoint libraries. As well as additional metadata controls, you can specify result sources on these search panels and the columns that are displayed in the search results. No wonder that this is one of the most popular ways to customize MacroView DMF. In order to do this type of customization, you need to edit a central XML file which defines the search panels that are available in the search type drop-down list. More information is available in a MacroView knowledge base article in the support section of our website. And if you require any further assistance with getting your custom search mask working, you can contact MacroView Solutions. If you prefer, MacroView Professional Services can create these search panel customizations for you. They can also handle the development of sophisticated controls for MacroView search panels, such as a picker that allows values for search criteria to be retrieved from a hierarchical term set in the Managed Metadata Service application by either type ahead or keyword searching. An example of such a control is included in the MacroView Case and Matter solution to allow users to select valid values of document type from a hierarchical term set. MacroView Professional Services can also customize a search panel so that it retrieves folders or document sets as well or instead of documents.
At this point, I thought I'd mention information architecture. So strictly speaking, this is not a customization issue, but it's more of a design topic. But it's certainly true that creating the right information architecture is a key success factor for a MacroView DMF document or email management solution. MacroView DMF will display and let users interact with almost any SharePoint document store design, but the right architecture lets you derive the maximum benefit from your investment in both SharePoint and MacroView, and which of course part of this is achieving a good level of user adoption of the new solution. So optimal designs for a SharePoint store will cope well with large volumes of documents. They will provide appropriate protection of documents, or security if you wish, and they'll capture the metadata required for discovery and retrieval, while at the same time being popular with users. Information about design techniques that are relevant in this regard, for example automatic metadata capture, is available in a number of MacroView articles and blog posts. They're mentioned in the blog post that contains a transcript of this webinar. Designing the information architecture of a SharePoint document store is another area where MacroView Professional Services has the experience and expertise to assist. A couple of days of their time can lead to a massive improvement in your user adoption outcomes.
Many customers want to internally brand their SharePoint document management solutions because this can lead to a greater sense of ownership over the solution and improved adoption by the users within your organization. So it's no wonder that localization customizations are becoming quite popular in MacroView DMF implementations. MacroView Professional Services can customize the command names and menu items that MacroView DMF displays. For example, SharePoint and MacroView can be replaced by Acme Docs. Filter sites and libraries can be renamed Filter Projects or Filter Matters, for example. These localization customizations are also compatible with multi-language implementations of MacroView DMF. For example, filter sites and libraries can be replaced with filtra proyectos for users who have Spanish language configured.
The next customization technique we want to cover is adding custom items to right-click menus in MacroView DMF. The way MacroView DMF displays a rich Windows-style right-click menu is one of the ways in which it provides a familiar and productive user experience. And that experience can be made even better if the custom menus contain items that are relevant to your organization. An example of such an item is the Open With, which is now shipped with every MacroView DMF product as standard. This new Open With command streamlines working with non-Office documents such as Visio drawings, Microsoft Project MPPs, and graphic files. Incidentally, you can see this and other customizations that have been installed in your MacroView DMF environment by going to the Support tab of the Options dialog. Another example of this style of customization is our MacroView Workshare connector. which allows you to right-click Word and PDF documents in order to compare them with the Workshare Compare software, which is installed on your PC. Additional items can also be added to the menu that appears when you right-click on a site or library or document set or folder in the Browse or Favorites tree displays. One example is a customization developed for one of our customers that allowed their users to create a new project for their organization. Behind the scenes, this would create the project in their line of business system and then provision a site for that project in SharePoint at the location where they right-clicked in the tree. And this all happened even though the user needed only to be a contributor.
There are numerous other examples of right-click menu customizations within MacroView DMF. These examples include right-click Create New Matter, which allows for the creation of a new matter document set within a particular client or business unit library, as well as the addition of that matter to a centralized list in your site collection for managing documents and emails. This right-click customization is included standard with the MacroView Case and Matter solution. We've also done a right-click Send as PDF customization, which allows a user to select one or more files, right-click them, and have them converted to PDFs and then inserted as attachments to a new outgoing email. Other examples include right-click Send to Zip, which allows users to select multiple files and right-click to download them into a local zip file, and also right-click Archive, which can archive a document set for a project to a separate archived site collection and declare all documents within it as records. The development of these right-click customizations is handled by MacroView Professional Services. The deliverable is an MSI that streamlines the deployment and installation of this customization. The development all complies with the Microsoft Extensibility Framework, so that having these customizations in place does not impact your ability to install and run new builds of MacroView DMF as they are released. It also requires no further configuration for end users other than the installation of that customization. So while MacroView DMF is not a tool for creating custom workflows, it can happily coexist with workflows that you create using SharePoint's native workflows or third-party tools such as K2 or Nintex. This is because MacroView DMF does not change how documents or their metadata are stored via SharePoint. Many MacroView DMF customers have deployed workflows that auto-start as a document or email is saved, or as the metadata of a document is adjusted to a specific value. Another example is a customization involving workflows for a customer that automatically declares emails as records once they are saved into the SharePoint system using MacroView DMF. If you have custom workflows deployed, you might want to consider having MacroView Professional Services create a right-click customization so that a suitably authorized user can right-click a document in a MacroView DMF file list and advance it to the next stage in its workflow. The right-click menu items can be context-sensitive so that their flyout submenus contain certain options that are tailored to both the workflow and the area of the document store, or disable them for users who do not have the relevant permissions.
Next, let's look at Search Site Tree, which is a powerful command in MacroView DMF, very useful for rapid navigation to any area of the SharePoint store based on part of its title or name. Search Site Tree can be customized. You could change the labels of the nodes that you're looking for, also the types of nodes that are displayed and which types of nodes are selected by default. In our little on-screen example, the Search Site Tree dialog has been customized so that there are only two kinds of nodes being looked for. Now behind the scenes they might be sites and document sets, but the labels of those nodes have been changed so that the sites are labeled customers and the document sets labeled projects. So it's found all the sites and document sets whose names or titles contain the word proposal. MacroView Professional Services can assist with this and can even create more customized solutions. For example, solutions that use a custom web service to search a line of business system and return results, which allow a user to navigate to an area of the document store that corresponds with a selected entity, e.g. a customer or claim, that's recorded in that external line of business system.
So as you're probably already aware, MacroView DMF already provides a very rich profiling or metadata capture experience when you save documents to SharePoint or when you edit the properties of existing documents within SharePoint. The MacroView DMF profiling dialog dynamically reflects the content types and metadata defined in the underlying SharePoint library and supports all out-of-the-box SharePoint column types. However, some scenarios are best handled by having MacroView Professional Services customize the operation of the MacroView DMF profiling dialog. A simple example is displaying the currently logged in user as the default value of a person or group column, something that often saves effort, but which is not supported by these columns out of the box. Another example is adding support for custom SharePoint field types, for example, the Bamboo lookup selector or the SparCube lookup fields. A more elaborate example is extending the profiling dialog to include a button that a user could click to add a new project record to a line of business system. When a user is saving the first document for a new project, this button removes the need to exit the save, jump out to the line of business system to add the new project record, and then resume the save. This profiling dialog customization provides a very significant reduction in user effort and in turn a significant improvement in user satisfaction. Another profiling dialog customization allows MacroView DMF to automatically record email attributes as emails are saved to SharePoint, even though the destination document libraries contain columns that are named differently from those that MacroView DMF normally expects. One example of this is saving emails into a Microsoft Matter Center document library using MacroView DMF. This scenario can also occur when organizations decide to switch to MacroView DMF from other email saving software, and you can contact MacroView services if you require more information.
Next, let's look at event receivers. The ability to customize right-click menus and also the MacroView DMF profiling dialog definitely reduces the need to create custom SharePoint event receivers. However, in some situations, SharePoint event receivers can be the best way to implement certain requirements. For example, if you've set up, you can set up an event receiver to disallow the creation of folders within folders so that you can only end up with one level of folders in a document library, which of course helps to enforce good SharePoint design practices. Organizations can develop their own event receivers, or if you prefer, MacroView Professional Services can handle the development for you. And professional services can also assist with more advanced designs, such as having a custom event receiver raise an error condition and then having that error message displayed by MacroView DMF. MacroView DMF can also be customized so that saving of certain types of emails is either blocked or causes a warning message to be displayed to the user. A good example of this is when an organization is having software like Enterprise Vault stub email messages. So the customization can prevent the save of a stubbed email from proceeding, or alternatively, retrieve the actual email from the vault and save it to SharePoint rather than just saving the stub.
For over 20 years, MacroView has been helping organizations to automate the creation of their Microsoft Office documents. Typically this involves the creation of Office templates with custom logic to generate documents and save and profile them in a document management system. MacroView has developed hundreds of such solutions which are in production use by organizations across the world, including leading international law firms. If your organization is using MacroView DMF, you can benefit from our experience by having MacroView Professional Services create a customization that displays a menu of your existing Office templates and saves the resulting documents into SharePoint, prompting for and recording metadata as it does so. MacroView can also handle the development or enhancement of custom VBA or .NET logic for your Office templates, so that document generation, saving and profiling is even more efficient. An example of such a solution displays a multi-level menu of available templates when the user right-clicks on a library or document set in the MacroView pane. Selecting MacroView Letter causes a custom form to be displayed so that the user can supply all details to be included in the generated letter, including retrieving some details from a CRM system or from their Outlook global address list. The save to SharePoint is completed silently but as part of the save, content type and metadata are automatically recorded. For example, document type is set to letter, and document author is set to the currently logged in user.
Related to this is the question of how best to manage your Microsoft Office templates. Many people have the impression that in a SharePoint environment you need multiple content types. In other words, one content type for each Microsoft Office template that you wish to deploy. MacroView Professional Services can create a streamlined document automation solution that uses this type of template deployment, but can also show you how you can move your existing Office templates to SharePoint, moving them from, say, your workgroup templates location on C drive to a library in SharePoint. So in other words, you do not need to use multiple content types in the way you would need to if you're using the browser. More information on this technique is available in a MacroView blog post.
The open from SharePoint and save as to SharePoint dialogues available in Word, Excel, PowerPoint and Adobe Reader are key strengths of MacroView DMF. But did you know that they can be included in other applications as well? MacroView Professional Services has worked with both customer organizations and other vendors to allow our open save dialogues to be invoked from their systems. In one case, we worked with a vendor of a browser-based docketing product to allow users to select documents from SharePoint to be included on the dockets that they were creating. In another case, we integrated the open from SharePoint command into Workshare Compare so that users could easily select and retrieve Word or PDF documents from SharePoint and compare them using Workshare.
Well, James, let's quickly summarize the kinds of customizations that we've seen in this webinar. First up, we showed how there is a rich set of configuration settings for customizing the operation of MacroView DMF, and that those settings are compatible with group policy. We also saw how favorites can be automatically created for users by the push favorites mechanism of MacroView DMF, that mechanism retrieving from an external line of business system in order to create the favorites automatically. We saw custom search panels so that individual business units within an organization can have a search experience which reflects the way they use metadata. We made brief comments about information architecture and how MacroView Professional Services can assist with getting that optimal design for your environment. We saw how the terms and labels that MacroView DMF uses can be localized, and that was the example we showed where MacroView and SharePoint were replaced by Acme Docs. Right-click menus are an important form of customization in MacroView DMF, and you can customize the right-click menus that appear when you right-click on a file list, and also those that appear when you right-click in the MacroView tree view display. James also mentioned how custom workflows can be used and how they can be integrated with a right-click customization to advance the workflow for a particular document. We talked about the search site tree command and how it can be customized, and also about how the MacroView metadata capture or profiling dialog can be customized in quite elaborate ways. We talked briefly about event receivers and how they can be made to interact with MacroView DMF, and also about how the saving of certain types of emails to SharePoint can be blocked or a warning message displayed in order to assist the user. James also mentioned how the automated document generation template management features can be made part of your custom MacroView DMF solution, and how the open and save to SharePoint dialogues of MacroView DMF can be integrated with other applications in VBA and VB.NET.
Thanks for watching this webinar, and for more information about anything that you've seen in this webinar or any other information that you'd like about MacroView products or services, please feel free to contact us using these details.